Hello again, everybody, and I have another great show with my guest, Ann. How are you, Ann?
Very well. Thank you for inviting me.
I am so happy. Librarians are my favorite people.
Thank goodness.
Yes. You could get you're surrounded by all those books. Do you have time to read?
I wish I had more time to read. I find with all the different programs that we run and setting all different authors up and running 2 different book discussion groups that I don't get a chance to read as many books as I would like.
So you just stare at them. I wish I could read this. I wish I could read that.
I have numerous lists of all books that everybody recommends to me. So at some point in my life, I hope to get through this list.
Oh, but you probably have some knowledge of what most of the books are about.
Usually.
Like if somebody asks you, which book shall I take? I like mountain climbing. So you would know where to direct them.
Well, it would depend upon which type of mountain climbing. If they would prefer desert or if they would prefer Arctic. And then we change a little bit.
Or whether it's a novel or it's a reference book.
Exactly. Is it true life? Do they want something about survival? Or are they looking more for tips on how to do it better? So I try to ask them specific questions that maybe they themselves don't exactly know what they're looking for, but they try with my questions to give me more information so I can give them exactly what they want.
That's wonderful. When did you decide to become a librarian?
Recently, actually. It was a change of career.
Really? What did you do prior?
Oh, before that, I was an administrative assistant in numerous positions, and unfortunately, companies would downsize, or perhaps they would go out of business, and then I would wind up getting another job. And I happened to see in the local paper a description of what librarians do. And I realized it matched my personality, it matched my skills, it matched everything that I love to do.
Yes, you are perfect for this job.
Thank you.
So, are you born here in the Hamptons?
Actually, I was born in Lynbrook.
Oh, up the island. Way up the island.
Way
That's
up.
Nassau County, yes.
Literally, I was born in my parents' house. I think I'm one of the last few people who was born at home.
In Lynbrook. And when did you come to the Hamptons?
I had the fortunate experience of seeing a part-time job being offered at the East Hampton Library. And at the time, I was also doing a part-time job in Lower Manhattan.
Oh.
So during the week, I would go into Manhattan, and then on the weekends, I would come out here and do the part-time job here. And that lasted about 6 or 7 months, and a position opened up, and they suggested that I apply for the full-time position, and I was a perfect match for it.
So do you live here now, or you commute?
No, I'm fortunate I was able to get a wonderful little cottage in the village.
Oh, that is great. So you're good at everything. Yes, and you are busy. You keep plodding along. You don't allow situations deter you from what you want to do.
I try not to.
Yes.
I try to keep aware of what's going on within the community. So if somebody tells me about something or they want to know about something, I try to ask different questions to different people as I'm going around, perhaps even food shopping. And I listen to what everybody says, and maybe this might work for this person. So I try to help everybody.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. So I'm going to get real friendly with you.
Great.
So what do you do? What's your job at the library? You have a title?
It's actually one of the adult reference librarians. So many times if you come into the library, you'll see me standing at the reference desk. And if you come to me and you're not sure perhaps what a specific book you want to read, or maybe you're not sure of the title, or perhaps we don't have it, I can obtain it from another library for you. Or perhaps you have some research or you want to look things up and you're not quite sure how to go about doing that. I'll guide you through the steps. I'll try to find it if you can't have, if you're having difficulty finding it. If you'd like to go onto the computers, I set up computer classes so that people from very beginning stages to more advanced stages can learn how to use the computers.
Oh yeah, I think I've been to like at least one session of that. You had a guest instructor at the time.
Indeed.
Yes.
It's,
yeah, I just have to find time to go there. I love libraries. I really do. I love those books, and I say, oh, I have to read this, that, and the other thing. And you brought some stuff here. This one, I have seen this. I think you gave this to me. I don't know if I didn't ask if I could show this, but this is the children's room activities at the East Hampton Library. So do you have anything to do with this?
Not so much to do with that. I do, if they need any assistance, I'll be more than happy to help them.
This looks very interesting, but this went, this goes September and October. Yes.
Actually, also ongoing. They are just developing a new book discussion for teenagers. In fact, they're planning on doing a little bit of The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. And it's a
did you read that?
Actually, I haven't had the chance because apparently it's so popular, everybody else is reading it. So I actually had to steal it from our children's librarian.
So this is for young adults?
This is for young adults, and they will be starting a brand new book discussion with this first book.
So is this, it's called The Lightning Thief, that little boy by Rick, how do you say it?
I believe it's Riordan.
Riordan. Yeah.
And it's a part of a series. So they want to see if perhaps people might be interested or young adults might be interested in coming in and discussing the book. And
yeah, that's always good. There was a play, but it was called "And Miss Riordan Drinks a Little," but she spelled it differently. I used to do that kind of thing with regional theater groups. Where was that? Not too far from Lynbrook, a few towns up. It's past Baldwin. Belmore.
Belmore.
Belmore. You want to know something? In Belmore, they used to put on plays in the library in the evening.
Really?
Yeah. In the evening, they would, a few people who were regulars, they went in and they set it up for plays, and I was there. I was affiliated with that group.
Wow.
Isn't that funny? I just thought of it.
That's fantastic.
Library, yep.
A lot of the characters or just a smaller venue? Only in...
No, they've done it for years. They've done it for years. At, what was the name? Lantern or... And they were very, very talented.
I'm sure.
And, well, I did a lot of plays with them, not as an actor, of the background. And...
well, that's something to consider.
And one of the plays was, and Miss Riordan Drinks a Little.
Well, that's something to consider, maybe eventually that we could do something for our library.
Yeah, you probably could. Because we only have these big theaters. We don't have these just little things.
Well, maybe we can work with, perhaps we could work with Guildhall on that then.
Yeah. And this other book is Walking Through Walls.
Well, this was, I run 2 book discussions. One is always the last Saturday of the month, and that's always 10:30 in the morning. And the other is a international mystery book discussion. That's always the second Wednesday of the month at 6 o'clock at night. And one of the last ones, I had this gentleman come in, Philip Smith, who discussed his book, Walking Through Walls, and it was just a fascinating experience. I had approximately 20 people coming in because he was so engaging, and it was his memoir about his father who
walked through a wall.
Hopefully not, but
I'm sure it's a metaphor, but it sounds funny.
It was indeed. Yeah. It was his father's ability to eventually become almost a healer throughout his life, and his son's experience growing up in that type of a household. And it was just fascinating because most of my patrons and most of the people who come love to listen to the authors coming in and really experiencing, besides reading the book, what the author himself has to say.
That is. And do you advertise a lot?
I try to. We definitely always have everything on the website, and I do try to put it into the local papers as quickly as possible. So
that's a lot of work, because I try to put this show on a weekly basis in the paper, and sometimes I forget. So
yes, that is a little bit of a challenge.
Yes,
indeed. It is trying to make sure I keep everyone straight, and I'm constantly getting emails by various authors who would like to come in and do a book reading, or perhaps do a different author talk. So it's trying to keep all those individuals straight as well.
Did you ever have Lois Wright?
Not yet.
No, she has a show here, and she wrote a book. And I had a couple of authors on my show also. Some of them are local. I'm going to refer them to you.
Please. I'd love
Yes.
to have them come in. I'm going to take her name down later, and maybe we can connect with her and see if she'd be willing to come in.
Right. Because this is just a half-hour show. We can't read a whole book. Yes. And I see another adult program here. This is what you are affiliated with.
Indeed.
And Dennis how do you say his name? Fabisak?
Dennis Fabizak?
Where is he from? Do you know?
I know he lives in Southampton.
No, that's a funny name, SZ. And that's why I'm always intrigued by people's last name, because I'm trying to figure out what nationality they are.
Ah, I'm very poor at that.
You are?
I'm very poor at that. I have so many people come through with so many different names, and I'm surprised that they'll come from different countries or different regions that at this point I never quite pay attention anymore.
Well, my ear always perks up when I hear something, because I'm from Hungary. So when I hear something like, sounds like Hungarian, I just go over there. Are you Hungarian? No, not really, but and this spelling SZ, that's a Hungarian letter, but that doesn't mean that this person is from there. It could be Czechoslovakian or Polish.
I'll have to ask him later.
Yeah.
So that I can see, that's part of my job, is to research. So I will definitely ask him later.
Yes. So who makes up these flyers?
Actually, I do.
Look at that, it's everything. I was going to comment on a pretty picture over here, and you picked this also?
Indeed.
So when do you have time to do the work?
That's the intriguing part. That's also part of it as well.
Yeah, you must put in an awful lot of hours.
It's a fun job. You learn how to do a little bit of time management as you're going through, and sometimes you do a little work on your lunch hour too to make sure you're getting everything on time. And it's a little bit of a learning curve to figure out how to do everything and change formats and make sure everything is being advertised.
I'm very bad at these things.
I can teach you. I'm good at that. I can teach you.
I just, because you have all these different programs, so you have to really know. I mean, you can't do it twice. You have to remember which one you did, so you don't remember. I mean, you don't repeat it.
I try not to. I
Did anybody come up to you and say, hey, you did this last week or last month?
Not that, but I was planning on doing a book, and then someone had informed me that they had already read that book prior to my being hired by the library. So that's how there's a little bit of a catch there, is that I do have everybody who's watching to make sure that I'm staying right on
And
track.
sometimes things are so good that you could do it more than once.
Oh, indeed. There are definitely a number of things, especially with the computer classes. I can definitely bring through some that are the same and bring them over because they're so popular, not enough people can get into them the first time.
Yeah, I see. Computer kindergarten for grown-ups. I think I went there once. Yeah, I don't think I learned anything, though. I have to really keep doing things over and over before I really know. Because sometimes I do something and it works, and then next time I say, how did I do that?
Ah, yes. Well, I have some people when they come up to the reference desk and they want to try to use the catalog system and they've never done it before. I always let them know, you can ask me 20 times if it takes you 20 times to understand it, because it's not difficult, but if you've never done it before, it's just a new, unique experience to try.
Right. Yes, you're so right. But you're so good at everything. So you have Padura's Havana Black, what we've read so far. Oh, and then the year selections have been, that's for next year, right?
Actually, what we've just done. So that way, if people are interested and they've just joined either book discussion, they can see what the styles are, what the different books we've read so far. So if they wanted to read something that they've heard us discussing about, perhaps in one of the discussions, they can pick up a brochure and see everything that we've done.
Okay, but this is, you have that's for next year, I guess, isn't it? Or
no, this is what we've done this year.
Oh, this is what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, so. And are these books thick? How many pages?
Well, every so often there is one that sneaks in there that's about 400 pages, but I do try to keep it a little bit less.
Because, you know, you have, if you want to discuss it, you have to read it.
You have to read it. You have to read it. And since I have to read it, I've got to make sure I've got time to read it too.
Oh,
so
yes.
I try to keep them about 300 pages or less.
I see. So, in your family, did is anyone a bookworm?
My mother was.
Really?
She and I grew up in a very large family. I have 4 brothers and a sister.
Wow.
So I grew up in a very literary family. I have wonderful taste in music because it goes all the way back, appreciation from 1920s to now. My entire family are readers. So
and musicians?
Actually, all my nieces and nephews are. It seemed to skip my generation, but all my nieces and nephews play some instrument.
That's because you said from 1920s. That means...
that means my parents are in their 80s.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I forgot how to count. After a certain age, you just don't. And you don't have so many fingers to reach to 80. Yeah, I guess when you were born in the 20s, then you would be about 80 something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes I forget what century I'm in.
Well, sometimes I forget what age I am purposely.
Oh, yeah. As we used to say, accidentally on purpose.
A nice term. I like that. Going to keep that one.
And so you said you from Lynbrook, mm-hmm. and so you lived there until you just got this job here in Lynbrook. I used to live in Baldwin. That's not too far.
That's not that far.
It's like 3 stations: Rockville Center, Baldwin. Oh, it's before Rockville Center. Lynbrook, Rockville Center, Baldwin,
And then
on the
Baldwin.
train.
Mm-hmm.
I used to travel that route.
Ah.
Yes.
Normally, I never took the train heading further east. It was always taking it right into the city.
Oh, from Lynbrook, so you don't know what's behind you going east.
Not on the train.
Yeah, I think it's Lynbrook, Rockville Center, Baldwin, Merrick, and all that.
And I'm not sure after that. I'd have to check.
Yes. Yes. And so I was going to ask you, like, what author would you say you like best, or who's more interesting, whichever category you want to choose? You like best or more interesting or better author, more?
Actually, that's a very difficult question.
I know.
I have very eclectic tastes. So there are times where I will go into a period of reading nonfiction stories, and perhaps I might focus on World War II. Or perhaps I might start to look a little bit into World War I or some of the different storylines along those lines, such as the escapes from World War II, certain aspects of that. Other times I'll get into the fiction section, historical fiction, or perhaps I will start reading a little bit of short stories. To name one specific author is very difficult.
Right.
I do like Hemingway. I like James Joyce. I love W.B. Yeats's poems. Very difficult to choose.
I know that. Every time I ask a question like that, it's difficult. I mean, nobody really just comes up with one name, but I thought I'd ask anyway.
Well, I always find there are different styles. Every author has their different style.
Yeah, do you recognize the style when you read?
Meaning
like if you read something and it sounds like you, I've read this style, I know this style, I know this. I read a book someplace before that with this, but even you can't even remember who, but a different style.
Yes. There are, I don't want to call them formulaic, but there are certain aspects that a person may use that is reminiscent of another story or another.
Right.
And one of the things that I've noticed too is, for instance, when we have the international book discussion, the mystery book discussion, we have a tendency to focus on stories that are outside of America and outside of England so that we can introduce storylines and detectives who are not familiar with American audiences. So therefore, we now have a chance to see how a German writer discusses, how he writes his style. How does an Indian writer, how does a Japanese each approach it? And we've started to notice that their styles focus more on the culture. And the mystery can be a little bit more secondary, which is very intriguing because everybody is used to Agatha Christie's.
Yes.
So
I was just finished, I'm just reading one of her earlier books, Agatha Christie. And I don't think I ever read any of her stories, but I'm finding her very interesting, her style, you know?
yes.
Very distinct.
One of my favorite was, I believe it's the 10 Little Indians.
Oh.
It's it's unique. She's concise with what she says, and yet she has a very thrilling little undercurrent that keeps you reading page to page.
Yes, right. And this, I think this one that I'm reading is her first Miss Marple mystery.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So, but she's from England, so you're not going to discuss her in the group.
Not yet, anyway. Although I do have a couple of patrons who I think are her favorite, so we may bring her in.
And I also, in this book, there's a little biography of hers. And she had written, first of all, she lived a long time. And then she had written many, many books. Not only Miss Marple, that the other detective, that Perriot, what's his name?
Hercule Poirot?
Yeah, Poirot. I can't pronounce those names. Well, Anne, it's been lovely chatting with you, and it's been such an interesting subject. And I got to know you a little better, which is good. I liked everything I heard about you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been so kind of you to ask me on and to chat with me. It's been a real pleasure.
And now the whole world will know who you are, and they'll be calling you. And every time the people will come to the library and say, "Hey, I saw you on TV."
Excellent.
Yes.
We're open every day, so we're here.
Yeah. And I don't know if we discuss what hours. You are open even Sundays?
We're open Sundays as well. We are open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 7, on Friday and Saturday, 10 to 5, and on Sunday, 1 to 5.
Okay, I have to keep it in mind and just go there when it's open.
Especially when I'm there.
Yes, exactly. Definitely we'll go more often, and we're going to do a lot of fun things together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So give my best to Lisa.
Lisa Houston.
Lisa, yeah.